Good morning, Misfits. You were tuning into another episode of the Misfit Podcast. Drew, Sherb, Hunter, Ted in the house.
Yo.
We have a new segment that I think everyone is going to be really excited about.
Yeah.
We have something called the electronic hand
Electronic man
meteor.
test.
Dynamo meteor. It's like trying to say Oceania. So we're going to do a little grip test to begin the podcast each week until we don't. And I'm not going to show them my score, but they're going to have to show you.
1 week long.
So sorry for any noises you hear in the next few seconds, but 143.
That's fucking.
That's 15 below my. That's 15 below my PR.
I'm too sweaty to do this. I'm too sweaty.
Sure.
Imagine if you lose. Imagine if you lose to the guy with the carny hands.
139.
139.
Not good.
Stronger than Sherb. Still.
Oh, I reset it. 14.8.
That's all I get.
Hey, that's the official score.
Get out of here, nerd.
Did I just win?
162, bitches.
No, hey, you want to know what? Ifs and buts for candies and nuts.
15 pounds under
I just
my
warmed
PR.
it up for you, bro.
Yeah.
That's why. I primed it for you.
All right,
fucking
so
sweaty as
officially,
shit.
based on first results, I won. Hunter decided to go back in and win that.
14.8.
Get 2 attempts, bro. Unbelievable.
Yo, that's my second W in a row.
Is it though? You got 14.8.
No, well,
Yeah, I saw
listen, I'm undefeated.
see it?
I'm
Yeah, I did.
undefeated in the man test. Also undefeated in Super Bowl estimations and lunch acquisitions.
Yeah. If you were listening last week, we set a bet for the Super Bowl, and the guy that knows the least amount about football somehow predicted that the best offense, basically in the history of the NFL, or pretty damn close to it, was going to score basically no points.
Hey,
So, congratulations, Hunter.
you're welcome. Yo,
Basically, John Madden.
thanks for lunch. It was even better that Ted had to go pick it up. We thought.
But we really do have to tell the listeners, though, that it took so long to figure out what was going to happen because you didn't dare to ask him to come pick it up.
I was a little bit nervous. I texted Ted from across the office.
Hey, man, I'm going to act tough. You go
Hey,
get the
you
food.
gotta go. Here's what you can expect to have to pick up.
We announced it last week. It's been on the socials, but if you have not seen it yet, we are hiring marketing director, social media director extraordinaire all in one. So you can shoot an email to careers@misfitathletics.com with your cover letter and your resume, or you can go search on LinkedIn to see the full job description just for Misfit Athletics, or I'm sure there's still a link in bio on our Instagram.
Cheer.
Yoki Robinson. Let's talk about this a little bit because
I don't want to relive it. I don't.
No.
I mean, we sort of gave you the pass today when we were talking about it. Austin and Caroline were in the office. They did the workout each in 10 seconds unbroken and wanted to know what all the hubbub was about.
Cool.
Sherb gets the pass because I don't know if you've seen the video. You need to calm down over there.
It's at 14 again.
Age 34.
Age 34.
How manly is he based on
Right.
those noises that he just... Patrick Mahomes stinks. He's going to score 9 points. So you get the pass because I don't know if you saw the video and Sherb's technique with the dumbbells, but something happens.
Textbook.
Nearly
Something
stellar.
short circuits within old Sherby when it comes to the dumbbell movements.
Yeah, you know, it's just a hard movement.
Hunter, are you going to redo it to see what happened?
No. That is a hard no. I still stand by that was one of the shittier workouts that I've done in a long time. But based on most videos that we saw, everybody either weren't gave it their best effort and did not do it unbroken, similar to me, or just cruised through it and set the dumbbells down after the last round and walked over to their camera and turned it off. So now I owe, I don't know, a dozen or so humans some handwritten notes, maybe a little goodie bag in there as well. So nice job to everybody. Fuck off still. For real though. Most of you made it look a hell of a lot easier than we did. But yeah, I guess a little bit disappointed with why people didn't look as shitty as we did. Why is everybody fitter than us?
I don't know. Someone wrote back to us and said we should have done 4 rounds, 3 rounds, 2 rounds, and 1 round. And I'm so glad that we didn't have to do that.
Oh my God, I'd still
10
be doing
rounds.
it. I'd still be doing it. I'd still be doing it and still be sore.
So this upcoming week, because of the fiasco with Yoki Robinson, we decided to enlist a professional to do a workout.
Thank goodness.
So you guys will, when this podcast drops, you'll be able to already see Caroline doing Grisabelle. And I like Grisabelle again from the standpoint of just you're forced to do something. So strategy is big and there's a lot of factors in there. And even if, the workout's super challenging for you or super easy for you, there's just something to having to focus on your actual strategy within the workout, because we go from, we're in training mode all of the time and we don't test that often, especially in competition. So it's like you need to know how to game a workout when the opportunity comes to do something like that.
I also think it's really cool. You can see someone like Caroline go through something like this and you're like, oh, how fast? How do they do these times? How do these times exist? What strategy do they have? How do they approach it? And it's just, to me, everyone that's following the blog is probably able to do 10 touch and go clean and jerks and snatches. It's who's willing to take the chance and dive into it soon. So to me, it's gonna be a really fun watch for you guys, because to me, watching someone go through something like that gives you context for like, oh, what's possible. And we always talk about like the 225 snatch phenomenon where no one could do it, and then all of a sudden everybody could. So to me, it's just pushing the needle, further and further along. So pretty entertaining piece. I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, it'll be a good, cool retest, and just given that everybody got to practice the both of those like throughout the entire phase, which was also 2 weeks longer than usual. She kind of said it, but it's like you're probably either going to PR or you get to take a chance and you're going to be like 3 minutes slower because you fucked up. But That's kind of cool. That's the nature of a test like that. It's like you have to take a shot, or you're either you'll do it, or you're
which is very much so. We've been talking about it through the whole competition series. It's very much like competition.
Yep.
If you're not willing to take that chance, then you're not willing to find out, again, whether you can be one of those people that snags, your 80 to 90 points within an event.
Really, with that one and the like overhead squat muscle up Metcon into the clean and jerk, like very similar kind of thing. It's nothing. Neither of the two, or the volume isn't prohibitive for most folks, so it's like you got to take a chance,
right?
Just like you would in a competition.
Yeah, and one thing that isn't probably always that evident, but throughout the entire phase, I spend upwards of 20 or 30 minutes every single day looking at people's videos on Instagram, whether it's tags, hashtags, SugarWOD scores, app scores. Like I go through and look at absolutely all of that every single day. And one of the things that I noticed more than anything else was on the heavy single of the front squat. People are just struggling so much standing up, sort of that, you get your bounce and then all of the sudden shoulders go on you a little bit. So we've got a video this week coming up that's going to talk to you a little bit about how to PR your front squat. And I decided that within a YouTube video, I didn't want to be a douche.
Just within the video?
Just within the video. Yeah. No, before it started.
Hot on this YouTube video.
Yeah, but before it started and after it was done, I was good. But like in the glory days, I was able to take my front squat from 360 to 390 by changing this thing that we're talking about. And it's not like a super secret, like we hope you still watch the video, but it's the idea of creating that shelf with elbows in, with the full hand on the barbell and just really winding up into that position, because you see the same athletes absolutely dominate the back squat game. So it's like, okay, how do we sort of mimic that same kind of thing and get into those positions? So we've got a how to PR your front squat video, and then Hunter has the Misfit Athletic stimulus package article coming out on the weekend. I don't know if you want to give a little teaser.
Yeah, you've been missing out on those $2,000 checks. Like, we got you covered.
Hunter coming in with the stimmy.
Really. Yeah, no, it's a good. We like kind of revamped the way that we did workout descriptions and whatnot a while ago, and started kind of what I think is still more detailed information, but it obviously just appears a little bit. It doesn't appear. So I'm talking about like the workout descriptions that you see on the blog or in the app, where it's like, oh, what's the workout feel, whether it's a gas feel, a cardio feel, or conditioning, I think is what it says, or like a muscular overload. And it's just, I see so often, similar to, I don't go through quite as often as you do, but in Instagram stories and stuff like that, people, like, we all like to watch the videos of athletes or like your training partner who's just fucking dying after a bike sprint workout, or they finish that last rep and are rolling around on the ground like you and I were in Yoki Robinson. But and that's like how the sport, how the like kind of the game was played a long time ago, and there's still a lot of value in that sort of training stimulus, but that's not all of it. As a matter of fact, most of the training pieces that you do don't necessarily need to create that sort of stimulus. So the piece is just kind of about understanding what we're trying to get after with each, and why it's so important to have kind of to be doing training pieces with all of those stimuli at different times and on different days and whatnot. So just getting exposure to all of those things, and why, if you are constantly doing a workout, or you're doing the MFT program and you're constantly feeling like, I'm always gassed, I'm never able to stay moving, or like my muscles are failing and whatnot, I kind of go into like, hey, why is that, and how do you manipulate the program to cater toward what you need as an individual athlete. So
yeah, and we have an article on the website as well about how to scale CrossFit workouts. And what I really liked about one portion of your article is you talk about, hey, you look at a blog piece and you realize that this is a domain or a field of workout they're not great at. How do you make that workout work better for you? Because that's really what we're trying to provide with this information, these feels, these stimuli, how the workout's supposed to go is supposed to give you context for how it's supposed to be executed. So to me, I think that's probably the part I enjoyed the most, having sort of previewed the article, is, hey, learn a little bit about why the workout is the way it is, and then learn how to take that stimulus or that feel and make it work for you, which I think is the ultimate goal with all of our programming, is making sure it fits your needs.
Yeah, it's an educational thing. It's one of those things that as an athlete, it's not necessarily intuitive, because if you're doing a workout written by a program that's designed to be for competitive athletes, so if you're constantly doing that, the thought is like, oh, I'm getting the most out of the program. And again, while that's valuable, that's not always what we're after. If we write a piece that is designed to be a muscular overload sort of stimulus, and you aren't receiving that stimulus, then you might be missing out on some of the variance and kind of the broader, the bigger picture, because we do monitor like that sort of stuff. We write pieces, a certain number of pieces with certain stimuli every phase, to make sure that you are getting the most exposure, the most variance, and the most kind of GPP in your program. But if you're always only getting one type of workout, like you always feel the same in every workout, you're missing out. You're not getting the most out of the program. And unfortunately, that means a lot of times athletes need to be modifying, and more often than not, it's scaling, which tends to like have this super negative connotation with athletes. But
personalizing,
call it personalizing, call it modifying, being like, oh, I'm going to change this so that I get this stimulus. So hopefully it sheds a little bit of light on kind of a little bit more on the methodology that we use to program to kind of give you that variance, and hopefully some insight into how to like further personalize a program that's already kind of customizable to your weaknesses.
Yep. So in a way, the sort of the last two things that we touched on get into the fact that whether all of you listening know it or not, you are driving the content that we're making. And if you want it to be, it can be, us finding out through looking at trends within the community, or it can be, hey guys, can you make this video? Hey guys, I'd like to hear you talk about X on the podcast. Like those things, we want to hear those things. So all the different ways to contact us, social media, email, all that. So if there's stuff that you guys want to see, like we did the bar muscle up video review, and that seemed to get some good traction. So if you're like, hey, I want to be your case study, I'm going to send you my clean and jerk, and I want you guys to break the video down, and throw it up on YouTube. We're definitely into that. I do, before we get into the actual episode, want to give a quick shout out to Diego Fajeda. He fought just this past weekend, and going into the fight, Ted, correct me if I'm wrong, he was like 10th in the world in his division, somewhere in that range. And if you're wondering what that means, the guys ahead of him are named Khabib, Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor, like that's the division he's in.
Even I've heard of those people.
Yes, even Hunter has heard of those people that play the sports ball. So just a shout out to him. He had a tough fight. It was a good fight. Both of them were I don't know that I can pronounce his Beneil Dariush. Boom. Nailed it. Thanks, Ted. So they fought. They have similar like 5-star levels of their jiu-jitsu, ground fighting, that kind of thing. So there was a lot of that there. But I was just like, to draw the comparison, he does the Misfit Athletics programming as part of his conditioning, and to draw the comparison to how you want to be an athlete to be in competition. I mean, he was in positions that would make a lot of people cry, and he's just so calm. Like, and I know a lot of that is his experience, but there's definitely a mindset thing there. There's definitely, if you listen to what he does for training, he does road work, he does lifting, he does striking, he does jiu-jitsu, he does Misfit stuff. He'll do Metcons, he'll do bitch work. This is like all in the same day a lot of times too. So I just thought it was important to give him a shout out after, fighting that hard and showing me what composure under fire looks like, because it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's definitely the definition of composure. Get your face punched in and stay relaxed the entire time and get out of things that are probably shouldn't be able to get out of. Pretty insane.
Yeah. All right, Misfits, just a quick break for our show sponsors. Try to save you a little bit of money on some great products. You can head to properfuel.co and purchase your complete post-workout nutrition solution, Proper Recovery. If you haven't tried it before, use the code word MISFIT to save. Did you know that there is a product that has all 7 of the ingredients that you should be taking post-workout in one jug? Okay? No more adding carbs to your whey protein. No more adding creatine, digestive enzymes. If it bothers your stomach, electrolytes, a little extra leucine to make sure you're looking as jacked as...
That Dynamax
someone in here that's jacked?
hand squeezer. Give me that
pick one
thing.
of you
I'll give it another go.
All 7 ingredients in one jug. Proper Recovery. Head to properfuel.co. Use the code word MISFIT on your very first order.
We are also brought to you
good.
by Sharpen the Axe. Head to sharpentheaxeco.com for the best swag in the game. We have a new collection dropping on the 24th of February, the Make Your Mark collection. Kicking it back to the homies who are really invested in doing the best they can in the open. We are set out to make our mark, us Misfits. Again, you can head to sharpentheaxeco.com, use the code word unprepared to save some green, or the code word Kiala to donate 10% of your order to the Kiala Foundation.
Does all this talk about the open get you all hot and bothered?
Yes.
Head to purespectrumcbd.com. Get a hold of a nice bottle of that 2,500 milligram tincture. Really does a good job kind of taking I don't want to say taking the edge off. That has like a different kind of connotation, but a little...
Takes the edge off from sitting in here with you.
Yeah. Hey, easy guy. PureSpectrumCBD.com. Use the code word MISFIT to save some bones on your order.
We are also brought to you by Misfit Athletics, because we are Misfit Athletics. If you like what you're hearing in this episode, Competition Block 1 starts February 22nd. You can head to misfitathletics.com. You can head to teammisfit.com. You can head to the SugarWOD Marketplace, and you can try it for 2 weeks for free. Your first 2 weeks, if you're wondering, well, they sound like they know what they're talking about, but they're really obsessed with this grip trainer. Do I really want to get into this? Yes, you do, and you can try it for 2 weeks for free. Join the Misfit Takeover 2021. The Misfits are coming. All right, back to the show. All right, so Competition Season Series, Episode 5. Topic is programming. And we are going to do our best to talk about programming and not just repeat ourselves and all the things that we've talked about before, but we will, sort of take those left turns when we need to tell you what that means for you. This episode will probably be maybe a bit more fun for the coaches out there, the people that are just into programming, that sort of thing. But we want to make sure that as we're going through the topics, we relate it back to the athlete. So February 22nd, misfitathletics.com, everywhere you can find our programming. Competition Block 1 starts. And we love this concept now that we have 3 competition blocks and 4 phases in the off season. Who are we to think that it won't change again and that we'll keep changing all the different things. But this is really cool for us because it allows us to dig into the nitty gritty and get into exactly how we want athletes to be executing, what we want them to be executing on, making certain adjustments that make more sense to us when it is the actual competition season. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was just adjusting the schedule, right? So the open workouts for a lot of athletes are going to be like what we talked about, like preseason, but they're so important and such a gift to have that laid out for you 3 weeks before, 4 or 5 weeks before you're going into your quarterfinal. It's the filming, it's the stress of it, it's the how do I stack up against everybody else? Because guess what? GPP is GPP. So if you're looking at it and you're saying, man, I'm already either, crushing people that I used to lose to or vice versa, you're going to get a better picture of kind of what's going on. So I think that there are a lot of athletes that are just going to have to slide it into their programming as if it was another piece. But I really think just getting yourself into that mode of the stress of it and the adrenaline and all that is going to be an important thing that will sort of soften the blow a little bit and let you just get to work in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I was thinking someone in Carolina or Austin situation where, the first week you could honestly feel like it makes or breaks your season. You have one opportunity, your very first week, you could literally derail your entire competition season through one bad workout.
Too many eggs.
Yeah, whatever's going on. So to me, it's nice that they have the opportunity to sort of ramp up into it, like you said, and give yourself the chance to get into the practice habit. One thing we always hear when we change a new phase is like the first week, oh my God, what the fuck are you guys doing to us? You're killing us. I feel like I can get out of bed. And by the second or third week, people are starting to get that groove, and that groove is greased. Now they have the opportunity to do that before things effectually matter for the highest competitors. So, you have this opportunity to set up your camera, your workouts, figure out what your week is going to look like, how you're going to structure your day to day. And then when it comes time for it to actually matter in the quarterfinals, for figuring out where you're going to end up for potentially semis, at least you've now had that practice. And it gives everybody, regardless if you're the, vying for a top spot at the podium, or if you're just trying to squeak into a high level competition or just get into the quarterfinals, this opportunity where you basically practice. And for us, it's, a lot of that games athletes, it's preseason. The games do matter because you figure out where people are at and how people are competing and what you're going to feel like week to week. But, the show starts after that 1 week break before we go into the quarterfinals. So for me, it's just nice to have that opportunity to kind of ease our ways into this schedule without putting a heaping amount of pressure in the first week.
Right. So with the schedule adjustment, the way that we are looking at it from a programming standpoint is this idea that Tuesday night, your open workout begins. That still applies if the quarterfinals are going to be the same, right? So if they're announced Thursday night, it's a pretty good chance you're not going to be, especially if, on the East Coast, you're not going to go out and do one of those workouts.
Well, fuck us.
You two will be doing those workouts for sure. Hunter's trying to plan a vacation in the middle, so it's just going to be you. It's just going to be you, sure.
We'll get one viewer.
He's gone for all the quarterfinals. So Tuesday, train your ass off, but then I have a rest day the next day, but it's not fully traditional rest day. You're probably still getting into the gym to do your flush, to do maybe a little bit of skill work, to, we've got the barbell therapy mixed in there to make sure people are thinking. It's just something about, it's like when you're like a basketball player and you you bring a basketball to bed, like carrying a football around. Yeah. You're sort of living that lifestyle. So Tuesday night, we are maniacal about sleep. Wednesday, we're making sure the diet's dialed in. We're doing the flush. Thursday, which I think separates us in a lot of ways from different programs, we like people to train the day before. We call those the primer day. You're going to have your what we call merry-go-round workout, where basically you're doing a shorter AMRAP, and it's almost always a triplet, and you're just sort of going through a manageable set of weightlifting, monostructural gymnastics. You're moving your way through, and you're really, like you said, sort of just greasing the wheels a little bit, just getting into that mode. We're going to lift some weights at like an 80%, that sort of thing. So that gets you through. We're going to flush again on Thursdays. And all of that is that lead up. All of that is that preparation. Because if you don't start thinking about the little things prior to, you're going to wake up and you're going to have to try to kind of flip that switch. And I think again go into that like overstressed mode.
Yeah, it's not really like I used to laugh because my mom used to, whenever we had a big test, like the MEAs are a big deal in the main state education, but you'd have like these big
We had very
tests
different parents
that mattered a bunch to the state, and like just because it was that day, mom would like get up and make like breakfast for you. If you try to get up the day of the open workout, I'm like, all right, this is where it starts. I'm gonna have a good breakfast and be ready to go. You are 3 days behind.
Cinnamon chip muffin from Hannaford sounds great.
Yeah, no, that's like the only time I got bacon and eggs was before those tests. But like you said, you have to start early enough. And, you know, we just released an article about morning movement and why it matters to kind of get up and get moving every single day and what movement does for both your sleep, your recovery, how your joints feel. All those things matter so much. And, you know, if you can use the entire week as prep for it versus one day, you're setting yourself up for a better week. And that to me is the biggest difference between like the way our week is structured versus maybe someone else out there who's like, you know, the day before you probably should just take it easy. You don't want to overexert yourself and be tired the next day. But, you know, we've seen athletes have really good success where they start, you know, their day with a little bit of movement. They get moving around a little bit, and then they notice that when they go to the gym to do that open workout, because they moved the day before, they're going to feel better on that next day versus, you know, I feel tight and stiff and I got to spend an hour and a half before I even do anything else. So.
Right. And we always had with the athletes at regionals games, we had the sweat check rule of get there whenever you want in the morning and get sweaty. And so many athletes, even at that level, with that level of confidence, are like, if I do a full rotation with my feet on the bike, I'm not going to be able to walk the rest of the day. It's like, yeah, I mean, you're the fittest person on earth, but sure, that makes total sense. It's fine. We put these things into the programming because we have tested and tried all these different tricks with the athletes in competition, and guess what? It works really well. I mean, Cody was one of the ones that would actually listen to us, and he would do a 100-cal assault bike at a pace that would ruin my day.
He was sleeping.
Actually, I don't even know. I wonder, do you think the pace that he would go do that at, I could even do?
For like 10 calories or 20 calories.
Fuck you. I was supposed to be a legit. I beat Sherb. Hand it to him.
I need to train with it more.
Retest.
All right. Well, keep going, Drew. Do your thing.
Guy with the carny hands was able to fucking crush him over there. How many hands you use?
34.
34 years old again.
Oh, 34 years old.
So yeah, just these things that are inserted in there that might look like, I don't know, window dressing or like a garnish.
That's where I think a lot of people will go with some of the flush stuff that we have on that Thursday. Like, people get done that merry-go-round workout, the priming, you know, snappy Olympic lift, and then they see the, you want me to go sit on an assault bike for like 200 calories or do this or that afterwards, and it just doesn't feel as exciting.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that, like, it doesn't scratch that itch that like a really hard Metcon does, and yeah, fuck it, I'll just stretch on my kitchen floor before dinner. Like, that's not going to get you what you need out of it. The idea behind every single piece that we put into the programming has a purpose, has a function, is designed to help prepare you to do your best come Friday. So don't like my biggest PSA to everybody is don't neglect how important that flush is going into your next day.
Yeah, I mean, it does something very significant physically, and it also, once again, there's the buy-in, what happens to you mentally as an athlete when you live the life, quote unquote.
Absolutely.
So the sort of the last piece when it comes to adjusting schedules is we are writing programming for a wide range of people, and honestly, a wide range of people that, some of which we hope someday will take our advice and go down to Hatchet. But a lot of people that are following MFT. So it is important for us, and what we have developed over the years that we call our variable training system is to provide options for varying goals within the same programming, because as much as we would love for this to be a thing, one size fits all is just not there. So typically you're looking at Tuesday as the only day during the open where you go in and just hammer it. If you are a semifinals hopeful, that is 100% not going to cut it. The good news is now we're looking at Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday, all as really, days that can be beefy when it comes to, volume and things that you're getting into. But on those days with our program, there's still going to be a very manageable volume. If you're worried at all about the open, a very manageable volume, that's mandatory. And then everything after that is sort of becomes a la carte, not necessarily like in the off season when you're choosing based on your weaknesses, but how do you still move the needle in season? I think that part's super important. So you're going into it and you're like, I am feeling a little beat up, even though it's just the open now and it's not the same thing, but mentally it's kind of getting to you a little bit, you can look at it and say, well, the interval's a little bit shorter and I know I can bring the intensity if they're going to, toss me a little bit of rest. So that's the kind of choice that you can make there. And on the site, we are going to have those choices Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, like all that. You're going to have options, again, like we said before, to really move the needle during the open. Because if you're a semifinals hopeful, or even to be perfectly honest, if like the quarterfinals are your Super Bowl, you need to be ready to get after it then. And the usual be not as fit by the end of the open that we've always, harped against, that's not going to cut it this year.
It very easily happen if you start to lead into the, hey, I got to be ready for my, quarterfinal workout, and I don't do any of the additional pieces besides the mandatory work. You might find yourself both, one, being like, I feel like there's something missing here, and two, neglecting skills or neglecting intervals or just not having the opportunity to do some of these pieces that we do regularly. And, like you said, it's a la carte. If there's something that stands out to you, like, oh man, I really need to dial in my kipping handstand pushups. It's week 1 of the open and they haven't done them yet. They might come in week 3 or during the quarterfinals. Like, it's good to check in with those things and just not neglect them because you're worried about potentially overtraining. We're monitoring that volume to make sure that we kind of modulate the days that are intense versus the days that need to be a little bit less intense, so you can kind of focus on what needs to be prepared for that open workout.
And I think the kind of the counter to that is a lot of, at this point, there isn't, normally we would say like at the beginning of the open phase, because it's like only a week or two until the open workouts actually start, like kind of the, the hay is in the barn, like you've done everything you can. We're not going to add, significant weight to a lift or something like that. But at the same time, like we now have, you almost have been gifted like kind of an additional 4 weeks for most of us, because if we're, if you're not, if assuming that you're going to move on to the quarterfinal, like you have basically an additional 4 weeks, and all these things that we've been talking about as far as the, the weekly schedule, the camera setup, and then now the training, the volume of training in your week. It might also mean that you're picking pieces that are like our wheelhouse pieces as well, just to make sure that you, like, from a confidence standpoint.
Yes.
So it's like, yes, we do want, like, hopefully at this point you've shored up a lot of the weaknesses and the things that are, that you're going to have to strategize a little bit more aggressively for should they pop up in an open or quarterfinal workout. But don't neglect now is the time to allow yourself to maybe choose the pieces that you're just like, oh, I'm going to fucking hammer this, and give yourself that confidence going into the quarterfinals that you can do that. Because I think we talked about it last week, like, when it comes to an open workout or an online quarterfinal, it is no longer about like, what's the best strategy for me to improve my fitness? It's like, for lack of a better term, how many shortcuts can I take, and how well can I game this workout to do the absolute best that I can? It's no longer like, oh, well, I did all sets of 20 chest to bar pull-ups unbroken, so that's good, but it still took me 38 minutes to do the workout. It's like, that doesn't fucking matter. Like, I don't care if you did, four sets of 5 on your pull-ups if you look like an idiot, but you still came in first, know. So use the first couple weeks of this competition block as like confidence building as well, and getting into the headspace that you need to for what's kind of nice, a little bit longer of a lead in to your Super Bowl, which for a lot of folks is going to be the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. That's a great talking point in terms of understanding how to read a workout and what it's supposed to go like. If you do this amazing thing where you do 4 sets of 20 chest to bar pull-ups, but it takes you 4 hours longer than anybody else, like, you miss the point. And this puts the magnifying glass on where you need to address your, what's going to hold you back and what's going to allow you to excel in the open. So, if you have one of those workouts and you realize you're kind of away from the stimulus or away from that, it's a chance to go, all right, this is going to help set me goals for the future when I train, and I'm going to better use the programming to meet those aims. So again, a really good talking point is if you start to notice that things aren't going the way you want them to, or they're not necessarily lining up with everybody else's scores, it's a chance to redial things back in and say, all right, this is what I got to commit to going forward.
I want to talk about monostructural conditioning when it comes to in season. And I want to talk about it because we've addressed the idea of sport-specific training versus more of the, we're going to work on gymnastics on their own, or this on their own, or that on their own. And just maybe that you have to get more sport-specific at certain times in the season. But if we go too far with that concept, we start to get ourselves away just from knowing that mixing it up is what separates CrossFitters from people who do other forms of training. So I personally believe that you can do some form of monostructural work 6 to 7 days a week throughout this entire thing and do so much for yourself, both from blood flow and recovery, but your aerobic, your anaerobic, like it does so much. And when things are stressful, having something simple like there's the bike, let's do this, it can be helpful. That's why you're going to notice in competition block 1, there's something for you to do every single day if you want to get onto a machine.
And to me, the thing that moves the needle the most for an athlete when it comes to, both staying in shape and just making sure their body's feeling good day to day is just get up and sweat. If nothing else happens, if for whatever reason the workout maybe interferes or you're not feeling great about it, but you're just like, you know what, I got to get into the gym and move around because I know I'll feel better. Or you're saying, hey, before I jump into this super intense Metcon, I should grease the wheels again. It's a great idea to get on one of those monostructural pieces and just move through it for, the 15 to 30 to 45 minutes or whatever how long it is, because it's going to make you feel better. And like you said, it's going to attack both the physiological, what's happening in your body, but also the mental game, because it's a chance to be mindful. I mean, those flushes that we have built into the week are opportunities not only just to move, but opportunities to think about, what can I do better tomorrow? What could come up? How could I approach this? What things could I be doing the rest of today and into tomorrow to make sure that I'm giving myself the best opportunity to crush the open workout? And for me, something that really moves that needle is that monostructural work, because you get that screen right there, you're sitting in one spot, and there aren't a lot of distractions or bells and whistles, just you and a machine kind of going to work. So for me, not much does more for your mind and your body than the monostructural work.
To me, the monostructural work is free fitness. And what I mean is, like, it's for the most part, short of doing some like absolutely atrocious, like maximal effort bike sprints or something like that, that could actually kind of detract your not damage, but
derail you.
Basically tire you out. Your nervous system is going to get
we only have those as far away from Fridays as possible.
Yeah,
just
so
you know.
We're not going to make you send it, on a Thursday before the open workout. But for the most part, they're either in that kind of like thresholdy or longer, more aerobic time domains and just kind of effort zones. So that, and what I meant was the free fitness is it's not going to beat you up, but you can still maintain and improve your overall fitness. You don't need to be doing, those sets of 20 chest to bar pull-ups at this point in the season. Again, hopefully that stuff has already kind of been taken care of, and we're now just kind of maintaining that level, that baseline. We have to remember that kind of aerobic base is what allows you to, take 3 seconds between your set of thrusters and pull-ups in an open workout and needing 5 or 10 seconds to do it. So if you can keep that level of fitness up without detracting from the rest of your training or training week because you're beating yourself up, like that's a super easy way to really break a sweat, make it feel like you did something, and you did, but without kind of the negative effects of 150 wall balls or something like that.
Well, look at what Castro did to them in stage 1 with the rowing and the front squats and stage 1 of the games. That was this brutal onslaught against your power centers, all of these things that you would need to have an aerobic engine for in between the events.
Right.
That's what makes that so interesting.
Well, yeah, we kind of talked about it when you look over stage 1 of the games events. It's a lot of people on social media are just like, why is everything so short? It's so 1 rep max front squat, friendly Fran, like these workouts that are taking a really short period of time. Most people aren't accounting for how does a games level athlete perform at such a high level from event 1 through event 7, and it's because of stuff like that. It's because of that aerobic fitness that allows them to recover and kind of maximize their effort for that next event. If you don't have that, that's what's terrific about the open workout for so many people is it's like, I only need to be able to go really, really hard once a week. quarterfinals is going to change that. You're going to have the athletes who've been doing like, you know, the 2 to 3 pieces who maybe are normally do really well in an open sort of situation. Now you need that to kind of, you're going to experience, you don't need to have a long workout to test that kind of long time domain, so to speak.
And we don't know exactly what's going to be in the quarterfinal, how many events it's going to be, how strenuous it's going to be. So why not build the ability to bolster your recovery right now over the next, handful of weeks leading up to that? Because again, you don't know what that weekend's going to bring. And let's say it is eight workouts over 4 days. Like, are you going to have the recovery game to allow yourself to give yourself the best chance to perform and get to the next stage? And if you don't take this stuff seriously now, you don't want to be kicking yourself in the ass later on being like, you know what, if I had just sat on a machine for 15 to 30 minutes, a few days a week, I could be feeling a lot different right now.
A phrase that gets thrown around here quite a bit is the take your medicine. And if you really expand on that and take it back to your childhood, like, it made sense that it was very childish of you to not want to have that flavor for a little bit and then feel way better within like however long it took for, children's Tylenol to kick in. And I think that is a nod to the level of maturity that you need to have as an athlete of a high caliber. You need to take your medicine. You know that you're not going to want to, like class was doing like 35, 25, 20, and then back up of like row calories or something like that. And there weren't any rowers left, and I took a C2 bike. And I knew that I was about to take my medicine. But it's like, man, I'm only really going to be going hard a handful of times for like 40, 50 seconds. And I'm going to get these massive physiological changes because of it. And I had to let the maturity be the one to make the decision about whether I was going to go hard or not. And I don't think that's any different than getting your mind right to go slow for a really long time when you're bored and, maybe you're going to get a cramp, or maybe it's, -8 outside in Maine or whatever it is. So like just that take your medicine thing, I think is so important during in season, because if all else fails, that work is waiting for you. There's no day where it's not there. Even rest days, we've got, the weekly work there. We've got the flush work on the other rest days. And, sure best if that column, that's every damn day, all the way down through, because we know, again, that can be the backup plan for almost any scenario where, my shoulder's bothering me, or, I'm sore from this or whatever. It's going to help you get into that. And I just really believe that that's the type of thing that if you're willing to take your medicine throughout all 3 competition blocks, you are going to be able to not only maintain, as you guys said, as like a backup plan, but improve the entire time.
Love that free fitness idea. That's a great way to kind of characterize it. It's not that much work. If you can just convince yourself to do it, it's free.
I don't know
fitness.
if that's correct.
Not that much work. It's free fitness.
All you have to do is pull the rower down, sit on it. You'll be good to go.
That's all it is.
Everyone's favorite topic, strength work. How do we program strength work? How should we program strength work when it comes to in season? Trying to guess which movements you're going to do is a bad idea, right? So you are positive that your snatch is the one lift that you need to work on the most, and that they're going to have it in either the open or the quarterfinals. So you're working on peaking that. You haven't split jerked in a couple months, and clean and jerk comes out, and it's a huge problem. You can clean a house, can't put the damn thing over your head, and no one cares. And a lot of things. No, but
yeah,
what's it? Was it 21.8?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can clean 400 and you can't jerk 275, then you don't get to do the workout.
Yeah.
The one that we just programmed. So it wasn't that I don't care. It might be.
I definitely don't.
Hunter 100% doesn't care. So we've talked about this in a bunch of other podcasts, but the way that we program strength is we have categories where we say we need to make sure that athletes are good at 1 rep maxes. So there's you get a category there. We need to make sure that athletes have speed when they lift so that they can eventually have a higher 1 rep max. That is there. We've got the high rep. We've got the skill work to make sure you're in the right positions. So we can take the step-by-step, week-by-week iteration throughout all of our off-season phases and just make sure that the melting pot all comes together, the witch's brew with a bunch of random ingredients, tastes great at the end. When it comes to in-season, you need to stay sharp Yeah.
Nailed it.
You need to stay sharp on
And now
all
a
of
word
it
from our sponsor.
really at all times. And that's why we rotate through those things. So if you typically see, we're going to make sure that you're peaking a specific lift, your back squat, your deadlift, whatever. Now we are going to act as if you're trying to peak each of those lifts, one of those lifts each week. So you're going to rotate through. And as we're going through, if we see that, hey, we just hit the deadlift and then it came up in competition, that can slide off to, okay, now we think it might come up in a high rep variation. So we're going to start practicing that. So we have ways to sort of toggle throughout. But the main thing when it comes to in season, and athletes really seem to like this because you don't get the Texas 5x5, what?
Oh, my legs hurt.
I haven't forgot last week yet. That's the one thing about when it's also stressful to execute on competition day. The strength work rotating and feeling fresh each time is nice. Like we got a lot of really good feedback last year during the rotating phase, which was games prep at that point. Now we have 3 fairly similar blocks when it comes to that through the in season. And you're really going to be able to, again, lift heavy, lift high rep, work on your technique. You're gonna be able to do all those things with these different movements as you go.
Yeah, athletes love variance. And I mean, speaking for someone who hasn't really done our blog religiously by himself for a couple of years, I really do I really do like when things rotate.
Shirt falls outlaw way.
Whoa.
TBT.
Hey, come on now. I honestly do like the idea of being able to mix things up. And again, just kind of touching on everything so that you're not just have only done high rep deadlift, but I have not pulled a heavy single, or I've only done, triples of clean and jerk and I have no idea what I can hit for a 1 rep max. It's important to know what these things are because we don't know what's coming just yet. We know roughly the schedule and the movements that could be tested, but knowing exactly the configuration is not something we know. So why not make sure we're prepared for essentially everything? And each day and each week that it rotates, there's something else you can focus on within each lift. So it's kind of a nice way to say, all right, I can still pull that heavy one, but can I refine the way I hinge at the waist? Or can I make sure my clean setup's correct so that pays off in high reps? So these things all play off one another. So to me, it's just a chance to kind of check in and figure out over the course of the next handful of weeks what things you struggle with. And when the things that come up that you struggle with show up, all right, how can I get better today? And to me, that's just a chance to get a check back in. And those checks and balances make sure that we're moving the needle in the positive direction in the long term.
For the athlete too, so for coaches, maybe we understand this a little bit better, or it kind of having that more macro view, like, oh yeah, we're gonna CrossFit our lifts, we're gonna constantly varied, that sort of thing. For the athlete, what you have to understand is that one, just again, kind of for the block, the competition block itself, there's no test week, so we're not finding a 1 rep max back squat and then building you up to a new 1 rep max in 7 weeks from now, so there's no lifting test, which also means that we're not specifically trying to necessarily improve one. We're looking to, like you said, make sure you have exposure to all of them so that when it pops up in the in the quarterfinals or in the open, it hasn't been 6 weeks since you've done a heavy front squat, or hasn't been 6 weeks since you've snatched heavy or done a workout with 315, 225 deadlifts for reps. We're trying to kind of, again, make sure you are well-rounded at a time when you need to be, because you don't know what's coming up. So for the athlete, don't necessarily expect to be PRing or for us to be, getting you ready to find a new 1 rep max. It's more, are we sharp in all those categories? Like you said, am I able to go heavy for 1, or can I go pretty heavy for a lot of reps?
I think the caveat to that is just that because we can't guess the 1 rep max lift, what we have to do is increase the probability that you are going to succeed in the most scenarios, right?
Sure,
So we know that typically when it comes to the barbell is going to have something to do with, can you do a lot of reps at this weight? Or if you are randomly thrown a 1 rep max or close to 1 rep max lift and you don't know which one it's going to be, we are trying to, it's like an equalizer. We're trying to, slide those up to, 80, 85% chance that you're going to PR on this. We're trying to do that in every single category. And if you're a true Kool-Aid drinker, you realize that you might need the back squat day more than the snatch day to get the leg drive out, to get you out of the first pull. You might not feel that until you feel like, I overall am the strongest that I've ever been. I might not be, ready for the lifetime PR of the snatch on a random day, but there's something to mixing those things up more that we have learned over the last decade when it comes to basically everything related to fitness. Mix it up.
And again, when is the
Muscle
last time?
confusion.
I mean, we can we could go back. What was it? what was it? Was it 2015 that was the last time? It was probably the first and the last time there was like a 1 rep max lift without any sort of either buy-in or kind of stipulation, like little tweak to it, when everybody like did like 3 toes to bar and then waited for the clock to expire and clean and jerked like 400 pounds.
Right.
So like I think it was like 15.1. Yeah, it was 15.1A and 1B. And then so now you're probably not going to get thrown just like maybe you will in the quarterfinal, because we've seen that. We saw that in stage 1 of the games. We see that in the AGOQ where it's like a 1 rep max, but it's usually not the first event of the weekend, or it's just sandwiched in there with some other stuff. So again, your true 1 rep max it's not irrelevant, but you're probably not going to get to test that. And again, like you said, we're hedging our bets, basically trying to play the probabilities.
All right, Sherb, how do we program, or how should someone program recovery days? How do you think about that when you're sitting down? Never heard of her. I know I want an athlete in the zone, in the gym, but training volume doesn't need to be insane. What do those days look like? The flush day, the flow, all that stuff.
So the way I like to think of the flow day, for example, which is really designed to be a lot like the the fasted cardio, where you're kind of moving through some monostructural work with some gymnastics. The big point here is that we don't want you to feel like you're overextending yourself into turning it into an additional training day, but maybe you're looking for a little bit more than just kind of sitting on your floor stretching, right? You want to get in, you want to check in, and maybe some of these gymnastics movements that maybe you need a little bit more exposure to, or you just need to feel like you're getting a good sweat in, right? As opposed to the flush day, which is a little bit more about range of motion and kind of promoting recovery and rest. So the way I like to think of the flow and the flush, and the way I explain to athletes, is that flow is, you've done a good set of training days, 2 or 3 days in a row. You feel like you can move around, get a good sweat in. You like to check in with stuff, but you're not really looking to send it, do 3 or 4 pieces and really beat yourself up. And then you have the days where you just absolutely crushed yourself for 2 or 3 days, and you're not really feeling like you want to put, all of your eggs in one basket. And it's just nice, like, we all know how we feel when we move around, right? A lot of us have jobs where we sit all day, and then when we convince ourselves to go out into the gym for a half hour and, do a few PSA pass-throughs, jog on the treadmill.
Get made fun of for lifting in your jeans, yes.
Yeah, something like that. You feel a lot better. So for me, the way I like to kind of distinguish those 2 days is, one, I would consider the flow a little bit more like a little bit closer to a training day than a flush would be, but they both have application, and it's really just about what you think's important for yourself.
It's almost like a long not for time AMRAP kind of deal.
Yeah, there's plenty of people we know that on active recovery days will set themselves up. I'm going to do 5 rounds where I go run for 3 or 4 minutes. I come back inside. I hit like 15 strict pull-ups, maybe go through some goblet squats or some Cossack squats. I do a stretch, and then I go off in my next round. And we see athletes really respond well when they just, again, get the blood flowing, kind of push out that lymphatic waste out of their tissues, check in with range of motion, and get your heart rate up, because we've seen how much that equates to better nights of sleep. When an athlete's committed to training 7 days a week versus just like recreationally 3 or 4 days, they're going to care more about how they're eating, what they're putting in their bodies, how they're taking care of themselves, and again, kind of creating that like professional athlete lifestyle where you're kind of bought in 24/7 versus like, some days I care about it, some days, not so much. So to me, I like to think of those as just ways to stay engaged when the goal isn't to go into the gym and smash yourself for 3 or 4 hours. It's, hey, I need to make sure I'm maintaining enough fitness and making sure I'm checking in with my body so that I feel good come the next day when I want to train hard, but I'm not beating myself up.
Right. And then when it comes to the flush, I think it's really important for everyone to understand that the forever pace and the flush pace are 2 different things. Your forever pace is, you go to the CrossFit Games and he says something crazy like you're going on an 100 mile bike ride, or you're going to do half marathon, or you're going to go run a half marathon, something like that. That's the pace that we're looking for, and that is still a training pace. The flush you need to be able to move and get your body ready without affecting your central nervous system negatively.
Yeah, to me, it's you have to sort of try, but you're not trying. You're not trying to set the world on fire with your pace. Like, you're going in there, you might have, like, you and I talk about this all the time, like a floor pace, or the absolute worst. I'm willing to let my split go before
Challenge
I'm
accepted.
before I'm embarrassed by how I'm doing. So to me, I sort of set limitations like that. Like, if I'm gonna go hop on the rower for a flush piece, I'm not going to be rowing at a 150. I'll probably look to row somewhere around a 205 or 215, but I sure as shit ain't rowing a 245 because that would hurt because it was so slow. So there's an idea behind kind of staying engaged and sort of setting pacing or strokes per minute or something like that to stay engaged. And you have something in front of you that keeps you engaged, but it's not so much that you're like, man, I just feel like I thrashed myself and it was supposed to be an easy day because, back in the days of Warren Avenue, our old location, we would go there and people would jump into pieces. And the next thing you know, you're like, I don't really feel like doing the open workout on Friday because I might have done too aggressive my active recovery. So now I'm going to move the open workout to Saturday. So to me, it's just about, promoting recovery and, feeling well so you're ready to crush the next day without beating yourself up. So, you're engaged, but you're not sending it by any means.
Right. And it sounds very unscientific, but in reality, it's extremely scientific, the conversational pace thing.
Yep.
If someone comes over and asks you a question and you cannot answer it without gasping, there's a pretty good chance that you have just ticked over into that place that we want you to save for the other 5 days a week.
And one thing I think, if you're struggling with that, if you're on your own, if you're down in your basement trying to do one of these days on your, by yourself, I've been experimenting with myself. Do some nasal breathing. If you're breathing through your nose, you're going to be at a slower pace than you're naturally at. You might actually be able to tap into the type of rest and recovery flush mentality we're going for, because breathing through your nose, if you're not used to it, really slows you down at first because, again, it's unfamiliar. But to me, it almost goes 1-to-1 with that, like what I would say. If
I've only got one functioning nostril, so that 240 might show up on the screen, but yeah.
But like if you and I sitting side by side and we're both doing nasal breathing, it'd probably be a very comparable pace to it if we were just, shooting the shit side by side.
Comparable to...
Not to each other, to, your talking pace versus your nasal breathing pace.
I did see your electronic nano dynamometer score, so maybe the paces would be the same.
Built by Camry. Damn.
Toyota Camry.
Before our sort of rah-rah speech here, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about when it comes to programming? Obviously, at this point, there's no real reason to say Metcon, interval, on Tuesdays, you will back squat. Like, those sort of things aren't going to do much for anybody. But I feel like this in-season thing just kind of has me reinvigorated and jumping back into the ideas. We just had such a weird year plus. I mean, we were at Wadapalooza around this time last year, and then
Oof.
That was it. That was it. Like, we thought we were just gonna keep doing that. We had flights booked to go all over the place. So there's something about sort of ticking over to the in-season block.
Yeah, to me, it's, again, without going to the rah-rahs, is buying into doing some of these pieces that maybe you decided, I'll save that for my rest day or my recovery day, kind of going back to some of that aerobic work. There's just so many good opportunities to keep yourself engaged and to stay in the mindset of the athlete, because, we don't see a lot of successful athletes who can turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on in the middle of their season. Like, it's important outside of your competition season to be able to unplug and relax and recharge and take a deload week here or there, but this ain't that time. This is the time to be engaged, fully immersed in it. And every single thing that you do, if the open is what's important to you, performing at the CrossFit Games is like your ultimate goal. Like, everything that you do day in and day out has to be about that goal. Otherwise, you're wishing in one hand and sort of shitting in the other.
Yeah, and I think it's important to just say that we don't put throwaway pieces on the website. We might. Okay, so like the warm up versus the Metcon for the day. Yeah, we might be more okay with you modifying your own warm up, but they're equally as important in their own right. Every single thing from left to right. So it's just can be challenging when we know how much these other things that people would consider maybe extra credit or outside of the box a little bit will move the needle. So when we have an opportunity to talk programming, it's like, no, the morning movement, the warm up, the accessory work, all of that's all in there because we think that will make you better. And a lot of times, going back to the take your medicine thing, like that, those are the little things that could add up over the course of a year. And, make sure that you don't get injured, keep your stress levels down, help you sleep better, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think even with that being said, there are, a certain amount of mandatory and optional pieces every single day. And there's still the opportunity every once in a while to take the optional and the mandatory and flip-flop them based on your needs. But, we sort of more or less set a prescription of this is what you should be doing in terms of like volume this time of year, give or take a piece or so. And that's what's important. If you did need to modify and move one thing in place of something else because it better suits your needs, still do that. Like, not saying you have to follow the exact mandatory, and if you want to do some optional, do some optional. Make the blog still work for you, but just be concerned with, hey, is everything that I'm doing over the course of these next handful of weeks setting me up to do my best, or is it pushing me in the opposite direction? And am I going to be discouraged because I decided to do something different or try something new, or maybe, just because the Open's coming up, I'm going to throw the papers up in the air and do something different because so far it's not working for me. So to me, it's just stay bought in, stay focused on what the inputs are and how they're going to equal to outputs later in the season.
Yeah.
I believe February 21st is Misfit Christmas Eve.
Damn right.
Like, there's just something about it changing. And I think you can, as an athlete, draw that fake doorway. I don't know, walk through a real doorway in your house if you want to. But you need to pass through the threshold of, we were in the off season, now we're in season. The excitement, the focus, the adrenaline, the things that you can rely on change when you are in season. And I really just think that you need to circle, one of those things, old school red marker, actual calendar that's on the wall, circle that date and just have an extra pep in your step when you walk in. And that's the type of attitude, that's the type of mindset that sets the tone for you to then make true changes in the gym and show them off when the competition actually shows up.
You don't get to cultivate that mindset 5 minutes before an open workout.
No, you don't.
It starts weeks beforehand. It starts even, honestly, months or years. But if you haven't started yet, why not start now and get into that mindset? Because again, learning to turn that switch on is not an easy thing. And we've seen so many talented athletes really struggle in how to turn that switch on, and because it's not a practice habit they do every single day.
Right.
One of my favorite things about working out with Cody back in the day is he's all, making jokes and having fun until the second the workout starts, and then his fucking expression changes. He doesn't say anything to you, and he just attacks the workout. That is someone going into the right headspace, and that's something he's practiced over the years. It's something you have the opportunity to practice over the next handful of weeks. So get into that mindset and realize that if you do that now, you won't have to think about it when it comes time to do it in 21.1.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about it a week or two ago, the just like that mindset and that feeling of like when you were in if you played high school sports, it was like, November rolled around and it was like
when someone does it in the gym, we're calling them B-Rabbit.
Yeah, like it's when it's like, God damn it,
hoods up.
When the season starts, or like, for me it was hockey season. It was like, okay, November hits and it's like, oh fuck yeah, like 2 weeks till tryouts, and like, you have an idea of like how long what the teams are going to shake out to be, and then it's like, okay, like, oh, who's the home opener? Like, what are we looking at? And you start to build that anticipation. It gets exciting. Like, get yourself into that mindset. Like, like you said, have that calendar date, have that date circled on the calendar, and treat it like, you did when you were a kid and excited about that event, or excited about fucking Christmas Eve, like that sort of thing. Like, get yourself a little bit amped up. And it's been a long time for a lot of athletes since they've actually like had to turn that on. And even like the last season has been kind of weird, where it's like, okay, yeah, I'll throw my hat into the ring for this qualifier, but when you're all like, when you're always on, you're never on, that sort of thing. It's now that there's that more distinct kind of start and end, like Castro talks about it. And I think there's a lot to it, aside from like probably his preference for like how a season flows, but it's helpful to the athlete too. It's like you have that definitive start point, you have that definitive end, or certain cutoff times, instead of this continuous super fluid season. Like I would expect this to be like, yes, there'll probably be changes and maybe different events, and like, Europe gets another semifinal or something, like little things like that. But in general, I think this is the season as we see it this year is going to look like this for a little while. Like, I think this is going to be kind of the new standard. So like allow yourself to get excited for that. I think this is what we'll see for a little while, as far as like, you know, the open marks the kind of the start, the really start of that competitive season.
Boom. Nope. I had a whole tagline ready and then I forgot what it was.
Dear
Misfits, you got
Damn
this.
it.
I'm inspired
Damn
now.
it.
I think we did our final thoughts.
Yeah, that was definitely mine. I got nothing.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into another episode of the Misfit Podcast, and thank you to our show sponsors, sharpentheaxeco.com. Use the code word Keala, Keala, to get 10% off your order and donate 10% to the Keala Foundation. Pure Spectrum CBD.com. Use the code word Misfit to save some money, and properfuel.co for your jug of proper recovery, your post-workout complete nutrition solution. Use the code word Misfit to save on your very first order. As always, I'm at Misfit Coach on Instagram. Slide into those DMs. Let me know what you thought about the episode, what you would like to hear next, and we'll see you next week.